Okay, and I show 6 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and call the July 2020 meeting of the News Charter School Board of Directors meeting to order. And I'm going to read the ethics statement. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this board. Does any member of the board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. Okay. We all received the agenda in our board packet materials. Are there any changes or additions that need to be made to the agenda? Okay. If not, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented. This is Robbie.
Great.
Second, Nicole Booker. Great,
thank you. So agenda is approved. And
we have to vote, Jane.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. So my dog's barking in the background. So sorry. Okay, so all in favor? Oh, I've got a list. I'll go through like Dawn always did. Michelle?
Aye.
Benji? Not here yet. Let's see with Rodney. Nicole?
Aye.
Dawn's not here. Rodney? Paul?
Aye.
Robbie? Okay. So that's 4. That's good. That's a quorum, right? I mean,
yes.
Okay. So, any opposed? Oh, wait. Rodney, are you saying something? Sorry, I can't hear you.
No, we're here. Me and Benji.
Okay, great. So we're voting to approve the agenda. So,
Approved.
Rodney?
Yep. Approved.
Benji?
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Okay, now the agenda is approved. Okay, great. Brad, do we have anyone who wants to make a public comment?
I am not seeing any comments at this time on Facebook. We did have a glitch with the feed. I had to restart it, but I'm not seeing anything at this moment.
Okay, thank you. Okay. The June meeting minutes and the special meeting minutes were included in our board packet that everyone got by email. Does anyone have any changes that need to be made to the meeting minutes?
Jane, can you repeat that? I think we're having some trouble with our feed, and there are thunderstorms in town. You were going in and out. Can you repeat that?
Sure. The June meeting minutes and the special meeting minutes were included in our board packet that everyone got by email. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Booker, so moved.
This Paul, second.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor? Michelle?
Aye.
Benji?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Rodney,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Robbie.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The meeting minutes are approved. Okay, we now have our Athletic Booster Club report. Brad, did you get the document or should I share it from my screen?
You will need to share it from yours, Jane. I do not have the document.
Okay, all right, let me do that. I'm gonna see, hi, Lori. I'm trying to figure out how to share your, I've never shared anything. How do I do that, Brad?
Jane, there's a button at the bottom of your screen. There you'll see something that says turn on captions and then it says present now.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I've got it. Great. Thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to explain it. I had my microphone muted. Didn't even realize. My bad.
Oh, no worries. That's okay. That's okay. All right. Here we go. Oops. Your entire screen. Just a second. I'm sorry. So, okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make this bigger. Here we go. Okay. Lori, do you want to go ahead? I've got your document up on screen now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm representing the News Charter Booster Club as current vice president. Our account balance as of today is $31,947.14. We have done some recent payouts. As you can see, one of the coaches has donated back to the Booster Club, which was much appreciated. One of the coaches' gifts, they were in desperate need and they were very grateful for it. And this isn't on here, but I also had another coach to reach out, and he was super surprised and in a good way, and was very excited about it and very appreciative. Our membership drive, of course, is underway, and we would encourage any of our board members, administration, teachers, staff, parents, community to support and become a member of the Booster Club to support the student athletes, in hopes that hopefully they will get to play sometime this year. And that's pretty much it, other than what is not included on here. And I should have included it, so I do apologize. We're trying to do a fundraiser. I've got to answer Dr. Edwards back on the email, so I will answer you back, Dr. Edwards, this evening. But as long as it's okay with her, we are planning to do a kind of a packet that includes a mask with a News Charter logo, a sticker, and a thing of hand sanitizer that also has the News Charter logo on there, that people can either buy individually or buy as packets. So I'm waiting on some quotes to come back so that we can move quickly on that. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions?
Lori, thank you so much. Is there an online application or any way to join Booster Club online?
I know in the past with our other websites, Booster Club was included in that, but I don't think it is this time around with our new website. And we are trying to get a communication chairperson to initiate that and start that. So I will definitely bring that up and make sure that's getting taken care of. But if not, there's, membership. And I actually probably have it on an email, so I could email it out, that anyone specifically needs it, Nicole. But we do also have them, of course, in paper at school, and we can always mail one to anybody that wants one. But I do not think that it's on the website currently.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Lori, for that. We appreciate the information, and look forward to, hopefully, like you said, hopefully we'll be able to do some athletics this year. We'll see how everything plays out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So I do not believe that we have anyone to do the Student Government Association report, but I just want to check to make sure. Okay then. All right, let's go ahead and move into our superintendent's report. Dr. Edwards.
All right, good evening, everybody. Good to see you. Just want to go ahead and let you know that the entirety of what we are going to be talking about this evening is COVID and our return to school plans. My admin team is here with me. Our supportive staff is also here. We are socially distanced and have our faces covered. And we are leading by example tonight and excited to share these plans with you. I do kindly ask that you save your questions until the end. One, there's a lot of information that we need to cover. Two, you may have questions at the beginning that we will answer as we go. And if that is not the case, when we are finished, we will entertain questions and work through it that way. So along with me will be Dr. Schwartzlander, Debbie Matthews, and Nikki Nowinski, who will be partnering with me to share all of this information with you. So we are going to jump right in as long as our technology behaves.
There was a request for you to please be a little bit more in front of your computer and speak up.
A little bit more in front of my computer, okay? How's that? Is that better?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think what we'll do is we may have to pass the computer around, but we'll do that when it becomes time for others to speak. So, why is it not playing? Well, we may just have to leave it like that, and that will be just fine. So before we start, I want to just kind of give a little bit of history about where we are and how we got here, to just recap the journey that we have all been on. We were planning for reopening in early May. We started having conversations then, brainstorming, troubleshooting, planning, researching, preparing, and we're super excited to have the governor let us know July 1st what was going to happen. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And we knew then that we couldn't ask our families to wait any longer. So we went ahead and rolled out Plans A, which was everyone back at school together. Plan B, which was 50-50, half at school, half at home. And then Plan C, which was fully virtual. So we shared out kind of a high level of what that would look like for our families, just so they would have an idea of what we were thinking. And then when we did that, we began to collect data. We surveyed the teachers, we surveyed the families multiple times in a variety of different ways. And we knew very quickly, just from rolling out all three plans, that we were going to have to offer some choices. And, you know, NEWS charter exists because we're a school of choice, and that just seemed to be the right thing to do. Once the governor began to unroll the plans and told us that we could open with Plan B or Plan C, we again asked our families what their preference would be. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but it was about 60-40 in favor of Plan B versus Plan C. So we began really digging into it and making preparations for it. And so what has resulted is this reopening plan that we're going to share with you tonight. To just lend some credibility to the things that we've done and prepared, we have created a pandemic planning task force comprised of teachers and teacher leaders, admin, ops staff, and in addition to that, we've also consulted with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, the Center for Disease Control, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the State of North Carolina Governor's Office, the Office of Charter Schools, and Occupational Safety and Health Administration. When we were working through our plans, there were some things that we knew we had to focus on, and we consider those our guiding principles for a healthy back to school. And I'm going to read those. They're in the blue box because I think it's important for everyone to know that these were the things that were guiding the decisions that we made, in addition to the entities that I just listed. Caring for students and staff, especially the most vulnerable, remaining a school of choice, prioritizing student learning, ensuring effective teaching options, and operating responsibly, efficiently, and effectively. So when we began our planning, we knew that we would offer two options. We would offer our virtual classroom, and we would offer a blended classroom. Beneath that, you see just a very quick snapshot of what those, what each of those are offering to the families. Option one, fully virtual, is they stay at home and they learn 5 days a week, but there is structure and there's a framework. Their classes are taught by new charter school teachers, and they do have equitable access to materials, learning, and teachers. Option two is the 50-50. Students are on campus 2 days a week. That'll either be Monday and Tuesday, or that'll be Thursday and Friday. To just speak to some of the components of virtual classroom learning and blended classroom learning, we were asking that our families commit to one of these plans for the fall quarter. We do plan to reevaluate where we are at the end of this first quarter to allow for some possible adjustments as we go. And the blended classroom learning is currently being offered. It's important to note, however, that if the COVID metrics increase, our online plan will become fully implemented for all students. If we have to close school, we will just transition everyone to Plan C.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Matthews, and I am the Primary Academy Leader. Just to briefly go over exactly what a day would look like for a student in the Primary Academy, whether they are in a virtual classroom or a blended classroom. In the virtual classroom, the day begins with the students that log into Canvas, because we are using Canvas K-12 as our platform, to check on lessons and log their attendance for the day. Each day is filled with teacher videos, activities, and assignments in their academic areas, and this would include their enhancement classes. Assignments will be turned into Canvas, graded, and used as a formative guide for their instruction in the future. Live instruction via Google Meet in one-to-one and in small groups would be given by their new charter teacher. And standards proficiency would be checked along the way, which would also guide their instruction as far as reteaching or providing enrichment. And the students, whether they're virtual or in a blended classroom, will have the same online lessons. In a blended classroom, the student would have 2 days a week in the classroom face-to-face with their teacher. And there would be 3 days that would be spent completely online, participating in the same learning activities as the fully online peers. At school, assignments will be used as a formative guide for instruction, just like as if they were at home. There will be office hours and teacher check-ins on Wednesdays and other days as needed. At school, instruction will be based on the needs and delivered in, once again, a one-to-one and a small group session. It would just be at the school instead of online. Standards of proficiency again would be checked along the way to guide the instruction, and the day would include a lunch, outdoor time, and enhancements at school.
We're going to go ahead and move on to a day in the life of a 7th grader. This is Dr. Swartzlander. So the first thing that I want to point out in both the virtual classroom as well as the blended classroom is the equitable access to teachers, time, and materials. That was very intentional on our parts to make sure that the learning opportunities that both sets of students had were meaningful, impactful, and of high quality. So if I'm a 7th grader and I'm Travis, I choose Plan C, I'm at home. The very first thing that Travis needs to do every day is to log into Canvas for attendance and to engage in his learning. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of the week, Travis is working through daily practice remotely, aligned with instructional videos that our new charter school teachers will be teaching and presenting. These videos are aligned with daily practice, which works Travis towards mastery of standards and skills. Each day, each class will have instruction. On Wednesday, Travis is going to be able to check in remotely with his teachers through office hours or scheduled group learning or one-on-one time. As all teachers are off campus that day, it is a day that teachers can hold office hours for both B and C plan students. On Thursday and Friday, Travis is going to be required to turn in all of his graded virtual work, and any assessments that the teachers are requesting will be administered on those 2 days as well. Again, all lessons and assignments will be the same as Plan B students. Now let's take a look at a week in the life of Rachel. She's in our blended classroom. Rachel's going to be on campus 2 days a week. When she's on campus, she'll have one elective, she'll have lunch, and each of her core classes. All of Rachel's assessments and graded work will be completed during the days that she is on campus face-to-face with a teacher. Rachel every day will be able to spend time outside, whether that be PE or outdoor learning time. On Wednesdays, Rachel can also check in remotely with her teachers through office hours, scheduled group learning, or one-on-one meetings. The 3 days that Rachel is virtually learning, she's going to be required again to access Canvas for attendance and continue to work on the daily practice aligned with the instructional videos, working towards mastery that our teachers are publishing.
Okay, let's take a look at the day in the life of a Senior Academy student. This is Nikki Nowinski, Senior Academy Leader, and we are going to first look at a week in the life of Jake, who is a 10th grade virtual classroom student. Each day, Jake at 7:30 will be able to access Canvas and look at his activities and lessons that have been released by his teacher each and every day. He must access Canvas each school day to be counted present. And his Thursday and Friday assignments will be for a grade. Graded assignments for him are due Fridays by 11:59 p.m. and no late work will be accepted without prior approval from his teacher. All lessons and assignments, again, as we have stressed, will be the same as Plan B students, and teachers will hold office hours each school day to support Plan C students. Looking at Tasha, who is a 10th grade blended classroom student, and she is in group 1, who is on campus Monday and Tuesday. Her days start at 7:30 each day, again with new activities and lessons that are released by her teacher. She must access Canvas each day for each class to be counted present. She is on campus Monday and Tuesday, and her assignments on Monday and Tuesday are for a grade, meaning that her graded assignments are due Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. because that is her days on campus. No late work is accepted without prior approval from the teacher. And again, teachers will hold office hours each school day to support Plan B students when they're not on campus. So as you can see, the day in the life of these two students is pretty much the same, just 2 days out of the week, Tasha gets to be on campus and do what she needs to do here at school. I'm going to go back a little bit. So when we're talking about a virtual classroom, what are the learning expectations for K through 12? What do we need students and families to do? Well, our student expectations are that students will log in every day to receive instruction and all of their coursework through their own personal device, or if they need to check one out from school, we will do that. In order to be counted present, they have to log into each of their Canvas courses every day. And students are expected to complete all assignments and activities. Day 4 and 5 assignments are for a grade. No late work is accepted without prior permission from the teacher, and zeros will be recorded if the teacher has not been notified that a late assignment is coming. We are also asking students to practice their reading and choose a book of their choice and read every day. For families, we know students will need a parent or other responsible adult to help them. They need to help them make sure that they get on Canvas every day, that they support the learning experience, that they make sure their assignments get turned in, provide students with a quiet place to do their schoolwork, and then establish a consistent daily routine. And also don't hesitate to reach out to teachers for support or guidance if you have any questions. Be aware of those daily office hours that our teachers are holding, and require your student to read a book of their choice at least 30 minutes per day.
So this is Dr. Swartzlander again. In addition to the expectations of being an online student, there are also student study skills, habits of being a student that are going to be essential that we focus on in order for virtual learning to work for all of our students. Online learning works for some, it's a great fit, and for some others, it's a struggle. So we're being very intentional on looking at the research and reading about the characteristics of successful virtual classroom students. They align with the 7 habits of highly effective students. Those habits connect and correspond with our core values. So the ability to integrate lessons, modeling, structured time for students to practice these softer student skills are going to be essential to make sure that all of our students can access and engage positively in a virtual classroom environment. But it's not just the student. In a successful virtual classroom, the families, parents, and guardians of our students, our primary students specifically, but all of our students are going to need to assume the role of a learning partner. Each student is going to be taught by a new charter school teacher. They're going to support the child in his or her learning. They're going to give feedback to the child. But we need to all surround the child with as much support as we can in order to allow them to excel and grow in this very new sort of situation we find ourselves in. Parents and guardians are vital for the support of our younger students. And our teachers are going to have time and opportunity to help parents understand the learning that's happening in school. If the parents have some questions about what they can do to help support their kids, our staff is going to be ready to support the parents in supporting the students.
Okay. All right, this is Nikki Nowinski again. This talks about the virtual classroom learning, and we kind of outlined that for you with primary, intermediate, and secondary. The spot that I want to focus on the most is this middle part, because this has come up quite a bit. Like, how is virtual classroom learning going to be different than what we experienced in the spring? Because it will be different, and it should be different. Attendance will be taken daily through access of Canvas courses. Students will have a daily learning schedule, and they will be actively engaged in learning new content. Each day they will be provided instructional videos and activities, and day 4 and 5 of instruction will include assignments, quizzes, and tests for a grade. In the spring, we were not giving zeros. Moving forward, we will be giving zeros if we're not completing the work. This is still school, and so we're going to hold students accountable for the work that they do and the work that they don't do. Other than that, everything is similar between Plan B and C. Again, trying to make sure everything is as equitable as we can possibly make it, whether you're at home or whether you're at school for your learning. As Dr. Edwards had mentioned, 2/3 of our charter school families have chosen to send their kids to school 2 days a week with us in the flipped learning model. And our school day and our teacher schedules and our facilities have been modified to accommodate time for proper physical distancing, sanitation of spaces, adequate time to make sure that our Plan B and Plan C kids get the attention that they deserve from our teachers. We are implementing staggered entry for grades K through 12. This is going to allow us the time to establish protocols and procedures effectively. So week 1 is all virtual, K-12. August 17th, we invite our 9th through 12th graders to start school. If you're Plan B, you will start school on campus that week. August 31st, kindergarten through 2nd grade, Plan B students begin coming to school. September 8th, 3rd through 5th grade starts coming to school. And September 21st, 6th through 8th grade comes to school. And then we are fully implemented with our Plan B students.
We are going to spend a little bit of time now digging into several components of our healthy return to school program. We're going to talk about healthy policies, healthy buildings, healthy classrooms, and healthy schedules and activities, and healthy starts at home. So I'm going to talk about our policies that are going to reinforce a positive culture of health and a shared responsibility, the mandatory facial covering, our stay at home if you are ill policy, and then our protocol for a positive COVID-19 case. Healthy buildings, daily sanitation of classrooms, bathrooms, common spaces, and high-touch areas, deep cleaning on Wednesdays. You may have noticed our Plan B includes students on campus Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. That is to allow an entire day for our deep clean and sanitation. One-way traffic protocols, hand sanitizer stations. Healthy classroom is going to maximize our physical distance to protect our students and staff, maximize group distancing, and facial covering policies and frequent hand washing. Healthy schedules, we've talked about. It's a phased return of students to campus with a flipped model, and then in-classroom lunch and a staggered schedule. Healthy activities are going to include modified recess, modified PE, reimagined music and theater classes as needed, and then a continuation of athletic activities with enhanced controls, all functioning within the guidelines given to us by the North Carolina Independent High School Athletic Association. And then healthy starts at home. We know that we cannot do this without our families. And so self-assessing prior to coming to school is going to be important, disinfecting personal items and reinforcing the procedures that we are putting into place at school. So healthy policies is going to cover daily temperature and symptom screening and mandatory face coverings. Essentially what will happen is students will arrive to school in carpool. There will be someone there to take their temperature with an infrared thermometer. Once we have determined that their temperature is allowable for them to exit the car, they will exit the car, and then they will proceed to their designated space. They are expected to wear their masks and grab some hand sanitizer on their way in. And then also, all parents and guardians of K-5 students, students 612, staff, and essential visitors will all be required to complete a daily symptom screening checklist. If you are coming to visit us at school, you will notice a QR code on our front door that you will need to scan and complete the checklist. There are protocols in place for visitors, though we are limiting visitors when we reopen. It will be essential visitors on campus only. And then mandatory face coverings. All students, K-12, everyone on our campus essentially is required to wear a face covering while you are here. This includes inside any building and on any school grounds. There are some allowances within that I will speak to in a moment, but we as a school are going to provide each student with 5 disposable masks. And we are also going to provide our students with a lanyard so that they can attach their masks to their lanyard around their neck in the event that they drop it or they forget where they put it. This is going to be especially critical for our elementary students to help them keep up with their face coverings. In addition to temperature checks, screenings, and face coverings, we are also going to follow the stay at home if you are ill policy. This is going to be implemented for staff and students. If you exhibit symptoms or you test positive for COVID, you may only return when you can answer yes to all of the following questions. Has it been 10 days since you first had symptoms? Has it been at least 24 hours since you had a fever? And that is critical of adding in without the use of fever-reducing medicine. And has there been symptom improvement, including cough and a shortness of breath? Also understand that any student or staff that reports to school ill will be sent home in accordance with this policy. Suspected, presumptive, or confirmed positive cases of COVID-19 protocol. It is important to note that Noose Charter School will follow and train all of our staff on the guidelines outlined in the Strong Schools Toolkit that was provided by the Department of Health and Human Services. And there will be a dedicated space on campus to isolate anyone who is symptomatic, along with visual supervision until they are able to be picked up and taken home to be cared for. Healthy buildings. We are going to maximize physical distancing to protect students and staff. That's going to include social distancing, 6 feet spacing markings in any commons area where students may congregate. We are going to diligently monitor arrival and dismissals of carpool to make sure that students go straight from their vehicle to their classroom, and in the afternoon from their classroom to their vehicle. Again, as I mentioned, non-essential visitors and activities will be limited. In terms of maximizing group distancing, we do plan to keep our K-8 classes grouped as distinct and separate cohorts as much as possible, so they will all travel together instead of mixing up over the course of the school day to remove the possibility for exposure. And then adjustment of schedules for grades 6 through 12, again, to maximize that group distancing. Common spaces and bathrooms will be frequently sanitized. We have added a custodian to our staff to be on site for Plan B. We are going to monitor and wipe down frequently high-touch areas that include stair rails, light switches, door handles. Our restrooms will be cleaned frequently and thoroughly sanitized in between on-campus instruction days. And then countertops, tabletops, any kind of high-traffic areas will also be sanitized frequently throughout the school day. In addition to that, we will monitor our ventilation and filtration systems, and we will change our filters quarterly. If we realize that we need to do it more than that, we will certainly do that. The facility staff will continue to monitor our campus and our facilities. And if possible, we will be able to increase the outside air being brought into buildings. And finally, students will receive direct instruction and frequent reminders of health and safety protocols throughout the school day. That's going to include wash your hands, grab some hand sanitizer. We will not utilize our lockers, and water fountains will also not be utilized except for the water bottle filling stations. Healthy classrooms. Similar to healthy buildings, we're going to maximize our physical distancing in classrooms. Desk spacing will be maximized with no less than 6 feet apart. Upon entry to the classroom, students will have a seat and will remain seated until they leave class. Keeping in mind, we recognize that if they don't travel from class to class, there will be opportunities for them to get up and move about, meaning brain breaks outside or something to allow them to exit the building and get some fresh air. Frequent hand washing. We will build time into our school day for this, and including at the start of the school day and at the end, before meals, and of course after using the restroom. Hand sanitizer will be available throughout the building, in each building and in each classroom. There will be sanitizer stations set up in the hallways, in the commons area, and by the offices. And students who are not able to use hand sanitizer will be guided to wash their hands. Some additional ways that we are ensuring healthy classrooms: we are not sharing any common supplies. We will have increased protocols on textbook distribution and library book checkouts. And our teachers are going to wipe down desks, chairs, tables, and door handles after each classroom. Healthy at home. We recognize that this all really starts at home. And we certainly encourage our families to follow the CDC and state health guidelines. We want to partner with you to allow your child to come back to school and have a fantastic time every time they're here and know that they are safe and well cared for. But we really need that support at home. We ask that families will take temperatures of your children prior to leaving for the school day. We also ask that you provide your children with whatever supplies they might need for the school day. They will be allowed to keep them in their backpacks. When they get home, we ask that those things are disinfected prior to coming back. We have asked for families to consider Chromebooks. We will provide for you a way to sanitize your Chromebook prior to coming back to school the next day. We will ask that you help reinforce social distancing and also make sure that they have a water bottle before they get out of the car. It's important to note everything I'm about to say is in alignment with the CDC and the Department of Health and Human Services. Essentially, we are going to follow exactly what they have told us to do, and we will not deviate from it. So if a staff or a student exhibits symptoms at school, we will be prepared to separate them from everyone else. So I've mentioned already that we'll have a designated isolation area for symptomatic individuals. There will be visible supervision until they are allowed to leave. And if something happens and they worsen while we're waiting for them to be picked up, we will call for emergency medical support. Classmates will be temporarily removed and put in another location to allow deep cleaning of that classroom and additional ventilation, and we will notify our families. If a staff or a student has been in close contact with a positive case of COVID-19, we will ask that they remain out of school for 14 days since the last date of exposure unless they themselves test positive, in which case exclusive criteria would apply. That individual must complete the full 14 days in quarantine, even if they test negative. When we talk about assessing risk, we're looking at how do we keep everyone safe? And we do that by following the guidelines that have been given to us. Staff or students who have a negative COVID-19 test can return to school once there is no fever without the use of fever-reducing medicine, and they feel well for at least 24 hours. Those who are diagnosed positive through either a test or confirmed symptoms by a medical professional will again be required to answer yes to these 3 questions. Has it been 10 days since you first had symptoms? Has it been at least 3 days since you had a fever without the use of fever-reducing medication? Has it been at least 3 days since your symptoms improved, including cough and shortness of breath? News Charter School will communicate with staff, parents, and students about closure and possible COVID-19 exposure. And if it is necessary, blended classroom students will move to a virtual learning model.
Good evening, Dustin Squibb, EC Director. We will be incorporating a teen teaching academy model that enables our teachers, parents, and students to actively participate within the remote learning model. Specific elements that will be utilized within this model to support students in remote instruction include, first, co-teaching, the actual instruction. Each academy includes 2 EC teachers, 1 inclusion, 1 self-contained. Inclusive learning has become a necessary instructional approach to support all students within the co-taught classroom for remote learning. Each academy caseload will be divided up between the 2 special education teachers, and a schedule will be created to support learning for our students. Students that are on campus for a portion of the week will receive their normal inclusion and pull-out supports as stated in their IEP. Students in the remote learning model will receive individualized support from their teacher on a weekly, daily basis based on the support listed in their IEP. Students within the self-contained classroom will receive individualized support virtually from their teacher. These students will also participate in group virtual settings that will allow them to interact with their teacher while adhering to confidentiality guidelines. For IEP meetings, one of the key components of ensuring our students receive appropriate support and instruction is the creation and reevaluation of their IEPs. We will continue to offer virtual IEP meetings to ensure parents, students, teachers, and staff can participate and contribute to the plan. Parents will receive a draft copy prior to the meeting so they can review the information. All IEP team members that are required to participate will be present during this virtual meeting. After the meeting, the parents will receive a final copy of the updated IEP with a virtual signature feature that shows they received it. This final document is electronically signed and filed in the student's IEP folder. And last, our related service providers. We understand the importance of related services for our students and will offer these supports based on their IEPs. To be very specific, related services are speech and OT support for us. Students will receive direct support when they are on campus. Students that participate in remote learning will receive their support via teletherapy. All safety precautions will be followed for students during face-to-face support sessions and evaluation sessions when needed. Any assistive technology devices required for our students' use will be provided to each student. Additional stuff.
I want to just take a quick second and recognize those who have helped us kind of put all of these pieces together for our families. Of course, Debbie Matthews, Dr. Schwartzlander, and Ms. Nowinski, but then also the teachers who contributed to this. From the Senior Academy, Paige Bruner. From the EC Department, Jamie Johnson. From the Primary Academy, Millie Atkinson. From the Elective and Enhancement Team, Leah Williams. And from the Intermediate Academy, Tara Delgado. Also want to recognize Amanda Heifel, Brad Williams, Josh Bunner, and Deborah Hope, who put this presentation together for us tonight. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we will answer questions.
Dr. Edwards, this is Michelle Denning. Looking back on pages 20 and 21 of the presentation, there was a reference to if they tested negative, even if they tested negative, this was on page 21, that they would quarantine for 14 days, even if they tested negative. And then on page 22, I'm still scrolling, it mentioned something about that if they tested negative and were symptom free, they could come after 24 hours.
On page 21 or on slide 21?
On page, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Staff and students who have been in close contact with someone diagnosed must remain out of school for 14 days. Unless they themselves test positive, in which case exclusive criteria would apply. They must then complete the 14 days of quarantine, even if they test negative.
And then on the next page, where it's talking about the assessment of risk, students who have a negative COVID test can return to school once there is no fever without the use of fever-reducing medicines, so long as they have felt well for at least 24 hours. So if they're have had symptoms, they don't have to quarantine. They can come back within 24 hours if they're fever-free, even if they test negative. But if they're just come in contact, then they would still have to quarantine for 14 days?
Yes. Yeah, and that is straight from the Department of Health and Human Services in the Strong Schools Toolkit, which has been shared out with our families several times, and which we'll share out again whenever we share out this document.
This is Jane. I can't see the screen anymore, but is that second slide, is that the one that has the 3 components that they have to meet all 3 of them?
1 second, Jane, I'll get it back up.
Sorry.
Okay, where are you talking about?
I was just wondering if the slide that she was talking about that with this, that Michelle, that the second one where you said the negative, is that, so if it's, yeah.
All right, 1 second, let me get to it.
No worries.
This way.
I'm just trying to understand it without seeing it. It was hard. Sorry.
Slide 22.
I believe that's it.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. So Michelle, are you asking because it seems like those 2 things conflict?
That's correct. It does seems like it seems like they do conflict, because if you're saying that if someone has only been exposed, so if my child has been exposed to someone that has had COVID, then they're required to quarantine for 14 days. But a child who may or may not have been exposed, or for whatever reason they are tested negative, they can return to school. Even if they've had COVID-19, they can return to school so long as they don't have a fever and they tested negative and they didn't, without the fever reducing medicines. It just, it seems a little bit in conflict.
Michelle, this is Nicole Booker. I think the difference, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Edwards, but it's a known exposure versus someone who just is symptomatic, correct?
That's correct, Nicole. The first one is confirmed and documented case. The second one is potential.
I will just add, Michelle, we have the exact same language for students and staff at JCC.
So if someone, so Dr. Edwards, just to clarify, so on this the slide that you have up here that has the 24 hours, if someone just has a fever, for example, and goes home and then tests negative when there has been no exposure that anyone knows of, that's what this slide is referring to, versus either testing positive. If you test positive, you have to meet all 3 of the bulleted things here. You have to be able to say yes to all of these. And then if you are exposed, you just quarantine for 14 days.
That's right. And just for reference, you can find this on page 10 of that toolkit. And again, we'll send it out, but if you want to take a look at it afterwards, it's on page 10.
Thank you for the clarification.
Dr. Edwards, this is Michelle. I have another question. Just to clarify, the instruction that is being given for the students who choose option or plan B, whether in school, the 50-50 plan, those students that are attending, will they actually be getting live instruction, or will they just be reviewing the same videos that would be presented online?
So they will be accessing their materials through Canvas, just like a Plan C student would be. They're completing their assignments, turning things in through Canvas. But while they're on campus, they have the teacher there to help facilitate their learning, make sure they're on the right track. If they're having trouble or questions, they can ask the teacher while they're there at school. So they're getting the same information, the same assignments, the same everything, except they have a teacher in front of them to give them, some more one-on-one attention if they have questions or are struggling with an assignment.
Will any of the virtual instruction, will it all be recorded video, or will any of it be live so that the students can interact with the teachers during a set specific time of like a class, virtual class, as opposed to watching recorded video?
So the teacher could do live instruction as long as it's the same as what Plan C students are seeing in their video. So more than likely it'll come through video, but the teacher will be there to help clarify and support the student.
Okay. And as far as the instruction that's being given to the students, will that be monitored? So will someone from administration be monitoring the instruction being provided and the lesson plans being given to the students?
Yes. So right now, our teachers, we completed Canvas training a week or two ago, and all teachers have to turn in a deliverable. So we're asking them to turn in, a week of a lesson so that we can look at it, make sure it's up to our standards, make sure that as administrators, we're calibrating to make sure we're all looking for the same thing and seeing the same thing. And then throughout, we have access to all of their Canvas courses. So we will be looking at Canvas courses frequently to make sure that what kids are getting is at the high standard that we need.
Okay, thank you.
Nikki, how are they doing their testing? Is it embedded in Canvas, or are you uploading some kind of paper test or electronic?
They can upload a paper test, but they can also they can do both. So they can create their test in Canvas so that Canvas scores it for them. And depending on what it is, they may upload the paper test for kids to respond to in that way. So they can do both.
How are you trying to address at all any kind of proctoring or ability to manage, not cheating or not copying or,
Right. Well, all students, much like at JCC, there's, the understanding that to have good student integrity, that we're expecting that they not cheat. What we're also encouraging our teachers to do is to, depending on what it is, to really think outside of the box. And are there different ways to assess student proficiency besides, the traditional test or quiz? And so really thinking about, are the questions that I'm asking really assessing student understanding, or is it student memory? There's a difference. Can they assess this particular objective using some kind of project-based outcome rather than the traditional test? So really thinking about how we can assess proficiency in different ways to make sure we really know that students understand what we've taught them.
Oh, okay, thank you. Although we just bought a very expensive proctoring. So, even though we have an integrity, that was the very first thing that they wanted with the CARES money, was a proctoring software system for online. So, which I was surprised. That was like the first thing they wanted to spend money on. Faculty, I'm saying, teachers. Yeah, but we do a lot more, direct testing embedded in the platform. So.
Right.
Miss Nowinski, this is Nicole Booker. I had a question about the teachers' office hours. In the spring, there were some issues regarding conflicts with JCC schedules. Has that been addressed?
So we just talked about that today. We met with all departments and all grade levels over the last 2 days. And that was brought up today. So we're going to have to be much more intentional. We haven't looked at that yet, but we did talk about the fact that we have done teacher scheduling and we've adjusted it so teachers have the opportunity to work with Plan C kids half of a day and Plan B kids half of the day. So we haven't worked out a schedule for that yet, but that did come up today and we definitely need to be intentional about that. Because we had some of that overlap too within our own high school, right? Like different departments were having office hours at the same time. So so that came up today in a teacher meeting and we definitely have to be more intentional about that and we will do that.
For the electives, this is Michelle. For the electives, I noticed when we were going through the day in the life of the primary, the elementary, middle, and upper academy. So it appeared that the students that were attending 50-50, that they would have one elective per day. Are there any electives for all virtual learners in middle school?
Yes, they'll still have that opportunity to do that virtually. It'll look obviously different, but they'll still have that opportunity.
Will they still be doing the beginning of year assessments and those types of things that they have done historically?
Well, yes. And we're still working some of that out as well. So we know the state is asking us to do our beginning of the year K-2 reading assessment that the state requires. So they're still asking us to do that. And so we're working on a way to make that happen with all of our kids. So that is still required though.
Other questions?
One other question, and I won't ask any more. Students in the past, students have been groups. I know elementary school. I'm not sure about middle school, but in the past they have been grouped in different groupings. Is that being done this year, or is it too difficult with the online versus the all virtual versus the 50-50?
So, Michelle, this is Dr. Swartzlander. So when we were looking at the number of students who chose Plan B and then how we were going to split them up between Monday and Tuesday group and Thursday, Friday group, what ended up happening is we are going to have two groups of students. We're going to have a group of students who are accelerated and compacted, and then we're going to have a group of students that are grade level learning.
Okay.
Keep in mind that the students in the classrooms, we're going to have in middle school and intermediate academy 8 to 10 students max in a classroom at a time. So the ability to touch and push and support 10 students in a classroom is going to be profound. So we are working on the intermediate students progressing through their curriculum track so that when they get to 8th grade, they can take Math 1, they can take English 1, as well as giving those opportunities to students who need some more additional support and additional pushing to be able to excel the way that we know they can.
Will that be done in elementary as well?
The question was, are you going to have an accelerated group and a grade level group in elementary?
Yes.
The answer, Michelle from Ms. Math would use was yes. That is going to happen in primary as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Dr. Edwards, this is Jane. I just want to take a second to thank you and your admin team and the entire task force for all of your, it's very, very clear, hours and hours and hours and hours of work that you all have put in. We are profoundly grateful for the dedication that you all have shown. I feel personally like this plan is light years ahead of many that I have seen, including a couple of very high profile universities that I won't name. But I think that you all have done a fabulous job. And I think that it's a testament to how well your team is working and how dedicated you are to News Charter and to our students and our families and our teachers. And we're just very, very grateful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
I would echo that. Excellent job. Very detailed. I agree with Jane. There's a lot of people who are nowhere close to this. So great job.
I'll take that. We will take that. We will take that. We will take that. Thank you all. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Dr. Edwards, did you have anything else in your superintendent's report?
No, just kind of the running things that I've been keeping up with, just more work, that areas where further work is required, just continuing to look at the policy and procedure structure, compensation clarity, and we are still working on that new key structure for the main buildings that I mentioned at the meeting last month, but we are not quite there yet.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to committee reports. Our executive committee did not meet in this past month, so we can move on. Academic affairs. Dawn, academic affairs did not meet. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have not met. And so I would imagine we would get on a more regular schedule when school starts.
Perfect. Thank you. Finance. Benji?
Good evening. This is Benji Woodard. I'd like to present the highlights of our finance meeting from July 13th. The team has reviewed and discussed the 2019 and 2020 pre-accrual period budget. There are a few revenues and expenses that are outstanding that were incurred within the month of June, but fiscal year surplus is currently standing at $286K for the operating account. So that's a good performance there. And I also want to mention about each year, end of the fiscal year, we review the account balances to determine the amount to transfer from our operating account to our reserve, the savings account. Our objective has been to leave a $300K balance in the operating account just as a cushion to cover any unexpected timing issues with revenue or expenses that are received. So we will check that out once we have the final budget after the pre-accrual period is over, and we'll determine that after the accrual period ends and all of those budget categories have been trued up. So we will present that. I'll present that in the September Board of Directors meeting. Another major item we talked about was the budget tracker, the template. We'll use that to adjust the budget just 3 times a year, try to make that a simplification process. We'll look at that in September, in January, and in the May Finance Committee meetings, just to simplify our presentation of the monthly spend against our budget in our Board of Director meetings. Another topic of importance is the facility loan refinance. That's been worked on by several different groups, and just want to mention some of the potential benefits of that transition, that refinance and transition, reducing the length of our loan period by 4 years, increasing cash flow, magnitude of about $1.3 million in 4 years, reduction in the loan, and also just a bottom line interest payment savings of $1.5 million. So nice work has been done on that so far. Still working on that refinance, needing to get a parity agreement from the USDA to be able to move forward, but a nice work for all those that have been involved. And next up, I'd like to show the the high level view of the budget, the L4 version. And like we stated, this is the pre-accrual budget. So there will be some charges, things that will be trued up that were actually accrued and occurred in June time period, but have not received those invoices for, or have not received those payments for yet. So if you go ahead down to the bottom, the total revenue, you see that as 8.497097, so 8.5 million just about in total revenues. And if you look down below that, our total expenses were 8.3 million, which leaves us with a net surplus of 119,596. And that number will change as we get through this accrual period, but that is a surplus that we are currently at right now. And that is all I have from the Finance Committee.
Thanks so much, Benji. Any questions? All right. Thank you for that. Resource, Paul.
Resource met on the 22nd. We looked at the suggested policy for addressing donations and gifts. Discussed that a bit. We're in the process of developing a policy. One's been drafted. It's being reviewed right now by the committee. Upon the completion of that review, we'll send it out for full board information by email and provide a link for folks to edit on it as they wish. And so that would provide us with an ability to get that, if we desire, on the August or September meeting. So that would conclude my report.
Great. Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay. Board development, Michelle. Michelle, you're on mute, I think.
There we go. Sorry about that. You would think I would learn by now. Okay, as long as I've been doing this. July 13th, the Board Development Committee met. We discussed our board retreat, which is coming up on September the 5th, 2020. It will begin at 9:30 a.m. and they asked that we allot 8 hours total for contact time, breaks, and so forth. So I would say from 9:30 to 5:30 on September the 5th. I have emailed to Brian Carpenter documents and links related to our charter agreement, our bylaws, minutes, policies, as well as recordings of our board meetings and board documents. He sent us an invoice, and Amanda Highfield, I know, was processing that invoice payment because we paid within a certain amount of time. It was a discount, so she was working on that. The board annual self-assessment, the committee worked on that during our meeting on July the 13th. I emailed that out to all the board members that same day and asked it to be returned to me by July the 25th. I have all but one, but I suspect that one individual probably hit the submit button on the document that was supposed to work, but did not work. I tried in that PDF document. So I'll reach out to that individual and get that from them. And I'm going to provide that information as well to Brian Carpenter and have hopefully try to have that aggregate data to everyone by the next board meeting. Let's see. So on the bylaws, an update on that. Once the minutes were approved, I could not send anything into the Office of Charter Schools until our minutes from the last meeting were approved at this meeting. But I have drafted a cover letter that's to be sent with the revisions for approval. That letter has to be signed by our chair of the board and also our superintendent. I have that drafted, and so what I will do is I will send that to both of you for you to review. We can make changes that will need to be put on the school letterhead And if you will sign that and return it to me, I will get that submitted. There was one thing on the bylaws. Let me see if I can share my screen really quickly. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So as I was going through the bylaws and documenting all the different changes that we had made, I realized that there was one correction that was not made when we added the additional facilities committee. We did not change the number of standing committees. And so what I would like to do is have the board approve me to make that additional change to submit with our revisions.
Okay, so we need to have a motion then I'll entertain a motion to accept these changes.
Yes, or I guess I can make the motion. I would move that we modify the bylaw, the number of committees, standing committees within the bylaws to reflect the current number, to include the facilities.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Michelle?
Aye.
Benji?
So we're striking 5 and changing it to 6?
Yes, that's correct.
Sorry, there's feedback, Benji. Sorry.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Nicole?
Aye.
Dawn? Oh, you're on mute.
Did you call me?
I did.
Oh, aye.
I don't know. Okay. Rodney.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Robbie.
Aye.
Okay. I think I'm hearing it through somebody's speakers. Maybe if everybody can mute. There we go. Okay. Michelle, was there anything else?
Just a couple other things.
Okay.
One of the things that we had discussed, and I had also discussed it with Brian Carpenter, and one of the questions that he had asked me, he said, do you have all of your policies and your handbooks been reviewed by outside legal counsel? And it's my understanding that it has not. And his response was, in today's day and time, I would not put out any policies or handbooks without having it reviewed by outside legal counsel. So I'm not sure what the proper process or what board action will be required to make that happen. It's our recommendation that be done.
So I think that makes good sense to me. I also think that as we've all been talking about, that working on our policies and handbook and all of that to make sure that we have what we want, where we want it, that it's all in one place. I think that's a good impetus to sort of push us to really do that, so that then once we get everything where we think it needs to be, to maybe send it out to legal counsel, or to consider doing that with what we have now and then moving forward. Do you know, Michelle, is he going to be talking about any of that during the retreat?
He should be talking about the policies and procedures, I think.
Okay. Is that something that you feel like we can wait until the retreat to get more information about before moving forward with having outside counsel review things? Or is that something that you feel is sort of something that needs to happen more quickly than that?
Well, I'm thinking that at the board retreat, he'll be presenting, and I'm not sure that it would impact anything that we already, it may indicate to us that we need to make some revisions, but it's not necessarily going to impact what we already have in place until we make any revisions or additions.
My concern is I don't feel like what we have is complete. And so I guess, what I'm wondering is it worth having to have things reviewed twice, or should we wait until we have a better handle on everything that we need to have in place, get that in place, and then have it reviewed?
Yes, I think probably we could wait till after the board retreat. I don't know that we necessarily need to wait to have everything complete. So, for example, if we know we are already satisfied with our EEOC policy, or what, just throwing out an example, and we know we're satisfied, we can go ahead and be working on getting that reviewed. And I think it may also depend on who is reviewing it, and what the outside legal counsel may desire as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think it'll be really helpful to hear from Dr. Carpenter on sort of what he thinks we need to have, and move forward with that. And okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's all that I have.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'm going to move on to strategic planning. The strategic planning committee actually has met twice since our last board meeting. We met on July 1st and on July 22nd. And in those meetings, we spent time, we're still working on doing background research for the broader strategic planning process. And so we are right now focused on the 3 pillars of culture, operations, and academics, and sort of talking through topics and issues that potentially should be reviewed by the broader strategic planning coalition that will be formed later. And we'll be using those topics that we've developed and begin working on a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When we do that, I'm going to be dividing up our strategic planning committee into 3 groups. Each group will be focused on one of the pillars to sort of try to make sure that we keep traction and we keep moving. I'm really excited that at our July 22nd meeting, our final member joined. Dawn Dixon joined our committee in keeping with what we as a board decided about standing committees needing to have 2 board members. Because we hadn't been a standing committee, I was the only board member. So Dawn graciously agreed to join us and has already made a great contribution to the committee. So I'm excited about that. We spent a lot of time at our July 22nd meeting talking through what the role of the committee is in terms of the broader strategic planning process. One of the things that I shared with the committee that I want to make sure I'm really clear on with everyone is that now that I've been elected chair of the board, I don't feel that it's appropriate for me to be leading or facilitating the broader strategic planning process. I want to make sure that it's that everyone who's involved in the broader coalition feels very comfortable bringing forward anything that they think is important to our strategic planning process. And I also want to make sure that it's very clear and that we're very transparent that it is a coalition-led initiative. And so as the chair of the board, I feel like that might not be as clear. So we're currently I'm talking with Dr. Edwards about different ways to potentially approach building that broader coalition. And that's another thing that I am hoping that Dr. Carpenter, who I know has a great deal of experience, not only with charter school boards, but with charter school strategic planning, can potentially help with some suggestions. I've got several ideas, but I just wanted to make sure my plan is still to serve on the committee, because the committee is really just doing a lot of the background research and pulling together the data and the information that will be sort of the foundational information that will be used for the broader planning process. But the committee won't be actually writing the plan itself. So we spent a lot of time as a committee sort of talking through that, just to make sure everyone understood that at our last meeting. So our goal is to begin to work on the SWOT analysis and have that ready when we begin to pull together a broader coalition and begin the actual process of writing the strategic plan, in keeping with the presentation that I did a couple of board meetings ago that sort of showed those 4 columns. So that first column, which was really all about what the committee was working on, the final part of that work is the SWOT analysis. So we're getting ready to move into that. Does anybody have any questions about strategic planning? All right, so 2 things that I realized. One is just, I want to circle back for a second to finance. We did not vote to approve the budget. Is that something that we need to do, Benji?
I don't think it has to be done because we didn't really make any changes, but I think just for consistency's sake, we should go ahead and approve that as a full board. So I'd like to approve the pre-accrual budget for the end of the fiscal year as presented, with the knowledge that it will change over the next 2 months.
It's Rodney, second.
Okay, great. Any discussion? All in favor? Michelle? I think you said aye, but you were muted.
Aye.
Thank you. Benji?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Rodney?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Robbie?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you for doing that. And the second thing that I don't think any of us realized when we were looking at the agenda is that the facilities committee is not listed here. So do I need to entertain a motion? That's okay. That's okay. None of us recognized it. So can I have a motion to amend the agenda to include the facilities report?
This is Michelle, so moved.
I second.
Great. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? Michelle?
Aye.
Benji?
Aye.
Nicole? Oh, Nicole, I didn't hear you. I think you were muted. That's weird.
Sorry, aye.
There you go. Dawn?
Aye.
Rodney?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Robbie?
Aye.
All right, wonderful. So Robbie, now, how about your facilities report?
Yeah, so we've had a lot going on with facilities over the last month. Josh and Dr. Edwards have been working, I'll just tell you, tirelessly and a lot on making sure that these modulars were ready to be moved out. And also, there's a lot of preparation as far as permitting, getting everything set up for this new modular to come in. And there's a lot of work to be done over the next couple of weeks. I'll let Dr. Edwards speak to this a little bit if she wants to, but I talked to Benji today. We have incurred a couple of additional costs just because of the way that we've had to basically get a GC to help us with the permitting and that type of thing, trying to fit it in a time frame. So, Dr. Edwards, would you like to speak to that?
I mean, not really.
So we'll have more information.
Yeah, you can go ahead, but there's been some interesting. We've had some interesting days. I'm learning a lot. Josh is learning a lot. Robbie's been super helpful, and one modular from the old unit is gone, and the other one will leave at the end of this week. So that is some exciting progress. And like Robbie was saying, we've had to acquire a GC to really be able to get this new system in place. And that is going to really speed things up and get us ready for when the middle school students come back to school. We'll be ready to roll.
Yep. So a lot of good work going on. You'll see a lot of change over the next couple of weeks. Positive change.
Okay, great. Any questions from anybody? All right. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Appreciate that. I don't see anything listed under old business. Does anyone have anything? And new business? It's thundering nice and loudly here. So if you hear that, it's coming through my it's coming through my microphone. Well, really quickly before we move into closed session, I would just like to take a moment and thank Dawn Dixon for her work as chair of the board and everything that you have done to support News Charter, the students, the families, the faculty and staff, the board. You've been phenomenal. You have worked tirelessly to in ways that most of us have no idea, I'm sure, and we so appreciate it. And even more than that, I just have to say, I especially appreciate your help in the transition for me moving into the role of chair, especially after having only been on the board for a year. I've really relied on you a lot in the last month, and I hope that your patience continues, because I'll probably continue to rely on you for some of that, but I really appreciate it. I know I speak for the board in saying that we're grateful to you, and we're especially grateful that you have agreed to remain a voting member on the board. We value your contributions and your historical knowledge of the school and the board, and just wanted to say how grateful we were and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much, Jane. I appreciate you making those comments. It's a labor of love. I'm very committed to News Charter School, no matter how I serve it. It's very close to my heart, and I appreciate all your support of the board, and it's always great working with this team.
Yes, thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. If there is nothing else, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
We moved in.
You need to state the purpose for going into
Oh, I'm
closed session.
sorry. Okay, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session for personnel and administration discussion per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6.
Second. So moved.
Yep. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? Michelle.
Aye.
Benji. With her button. Okay. Benji.
Aye.
Nicole.
Aye.
Dawn.
Aye.
Rodney.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Robbie.
Aye.
Okay. If none are opposed, so the motion carries. We are going to move to the closed session link that you should have received in your email, and then we will come back to this link when we are finished with closed session. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks. All right, so
might I just ask a quick procedure question? Do we foresee these virtual meetings going into August? I mean, going into, August, September, October, or?
That's definitely something that I think we as a board need to talk through in the coming weeks. And with Dr. Edwards as well, given the CDC recommendations around visitors to campus, because we all count as visitors. But I definitely think that that's something that we all should discuss as a board and see. We would also need to be able to have all of us on video and socially distanced, which I think would be, could be challenging with more people than what are in the conference, than the numbers that were in the conference room. But anyway, I definitely think that's something that we all should talk about. And
my only thought is as Dr. Edwards described, perhaps rocky road ahead. It does feel like they can't access us, very much, because we do not have that monthly where they could come in and, maybe I'm overthinking it, but.
I think that's important. I think it's valid feedback. I also think,
and maybe that's good they can't access that readily through public comment and things like that. I mean, it's just kind of technically difficult.
Right.
But anyway, we can talk about it later.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion about the personnel issues.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Dr. Edwards personnel recommendations as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Michelle?
Aye.
Benji?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Rodney?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Robbie?
Aye.
Okay, and now I will entertain a motion regarding the Dr. Edwards org structure that was presented.
I make a motion we accept the presentation as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Michelle?
Aye.
Benji?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Rodney?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Robbie?
Aye.
Okay, both motions carried. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, bye everybody. Thank
Great
you.
job, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you.
This one. Here.